you struggle with everyday small things, like how to hang toilet paper this or next Thursday, the proper use of y'all? Then join Gary and JR as they consider these and other trivial matters. The Small Things Considered podcast from Ranch Hand Records, appearing every other Tuesday, alternating with Three Things of JR.
Hello and welcome to Three Things with JR. It's JR. It's episode number 124. And welcome, Thingers. Do you fans of this show have a name? And I think it is. I think it is Thingers or Thingies or Thingamabobbies. The Three Thingamabobbies. Yeah, that's it. That's what you are if you're a fan of this show. Tell your friends. Please get them listening to the show, get them to get their friends listening to the show. It's available all over the place, and it's a lot of fun. I have a special guest on the show today. His name is Chris Mullins. He's been on the show twice before, and he is back. He said, we got to do a podcast again, and I said, let's do it this weekend, as long as you are going to play me a song. And he does indeed whip out the guitar and sing and play a song for us. So you will have that to look forward to. So that's the whole show. It's this interview with Chris Mullins. We talk about cars, we talk about guitars, and we finish it up with dogs. So sit back, relax, and listen to this interview with Chris Mullins on Three Things with JR. All right, so my guest today is Chris Mullins, who's been on the show before, twice, I think, right? We've done this twice. One time we sort of planned it the first time. Another time I just sort of ambushed you because the Washington Nationals were playing the Atlanta Braves in the playoffs, and I'm a Nats fan, you're a Braves fan. Figured it'd be fun to talk about that live while it was happening. But this time we've got it sort of planned out as well, right? We've got three things to talk about.
Well, we have topics. We'll say we have three things. I have no idea what either one of us is going to say about them.
That's how this show works. We've got something to jumpstart the conversation, and those three things this time are cars, guitars, and dogs. And I like it because we are both into cars in different ways, and guitars is more your thing. But I've got thoughts as a person who plays drums and is surrounded by people with guitars all the time. I've got thoughts on guitars, and of course, dogs. We both have dogs, and we've got thoughts on our dogs. So let's start with cars. Thing number one.
Yeah.
And we should probably start with the fundamental difference that you and I have, because we're so similar in so many ways, but our approach to vehicles is probably a little different. In that, while we both are willing to modify and make our audio systems great, it's kind of what we do for a living. And it's a passion, and I want my music to sound amazing in the car. I think we're both feeling that way. You are more inclined to also monkey with like the performance of the car, whereas I have never done that to any vehicle I've ever owned, nor do I have any desire to. Improve the exhaust, add a turbo, make it go faster, right? Like I just buy the car that drives the way I want it to, and that part I don't screw with. But you do.
Yes, I do.
So tell me about this car. First, let's talk about the car you recently bought, right? Like you've always been a Jeep guy. I'm in your sporty little sedan, which is when you sent me the picture of that in a text, I was like, this is not what I ever pictured Chris Mullins driving at all. I don't think Audi.
Not even after I pulled up in the Volvo when y'all were outside.
I had the same feeling then. You pulled up in a Volvo convertible. I'm like, who did you steal this car from? This is not you. the fact that you owned a Prius, maybe still do, right? That doesn't jive with what I know of you. Like, it just doesn't compute. And the fact that you are driving a sporty little Audi is, again, just so weird for me. So tell me, why did you buy this Audi?
Oh, man. This is a long story, but I'll try to make it as short as I can.
I'm going to edit this later to make it a short story.
So, you know the story with the older Jeep I had.
Yeah.
13 years worth with that Jeep. It was the only vehicle I owned for 13 years. And it was kind of getting long in the tooth, and it was time for me to just kind of upgrade, and get something a little newer. And I thought, okay, well, I can go two paths with this. I can go kind of with a sports car, and I've always had a hankering for a sports car, but we've been a really practical family.
You've never owned a sports car before?
Myself, no. No, I had a Civic one time that I made look like a sports car.
Not a sports car.
It was not a sports car.
People do crazy things to Civics to make them more fun to drive, but they're not sports cars.
Right. And really, in truth, the Audi isn't either. This is I think they classify it as a sports luxury sedan.
Okay.
So it's still not like a muscle car or a supercar or anything like that. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's got potential, and it's a good platform to build on. But so that was my plan. Was I wanted to try to find a sportier car that I could pick up kind of on the cheap and maybe keep my Jeep, but not make my Jeep the daily driver. I searched around and searched around and searched around, and I really never could find anything that fit the bill. It was like, if I wanted, because I set a goal, I was like 300 horsepower, 15 grand. That's it. Those are my two goals. And that's really hard to find. And then one of my buddies that owns a garage here, the guy I've told you about that's done a lot of the performance upgrades and stuff and worked on my vehicles, Chris called me and he said, "You still looking for a fun car?" And I said, not really, but why? And he said, "You need to come down today at lunch." And you just have to know he and I, but for him to say it like that meant I really needed to come down and look at this car.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. And I got down there and I looked at the car. And as soon as I pulled in, I remember thinking in my mind, son of a bitch. Because I knew as soon as I saw it, I had to have it.
Wow. Love at first sight.
It was gorgeous. I mean, from every angle, it's just a gorgeous car. It's jet black. It looks like a mirror finish, but it's older, so I was able to buy it kind of on the cheap. And that's kind of where it started.
And what model Audi is it? And is this an Audi that you have wanted before, or did you not know you wanted this car until you saw it? Never even considered it. It was not even a brand that I had in my mind that I was seeking out. I had other brands I was seeking out, and Audi was not one of them. Interesting.
So, yeah, but it's a 2010 Audi A4 Quattro, so it's all-wheel drive. It's 2.0 turbocharged, and the performance upgrades that I've done. So I got it in January. I think the day before my birthday, maybe, is when I actually got the vehicle, and then I drove it for a while and started planning out a build on it. And
so you went from a daily driver as a Jeep to an Audi A4 Quattro. That has to be like a total shift in what your drive to work is like, what it's like to drive a vehicle, right? Like it's lower to the ground, it's faster, it's more responsive, it takes corners, like you don't have to worry about it rolling over, right? And even with that difference, you still wanted more.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like it's a car that is designed that well and drives the way it does compared to what you were used to. That's not enough. Like that would be
still,
that would be enough for me, for example. That's what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
that
No,
would
I
that
get
would
it.
I
But,
would I would I would
sitting
have
right
that
beside-
experience, and I would just be like, yeah, I'm cool. This is great. I'll drive this for until I don't drive it anymore, just the way it is.
Yeah. And, I get that. A lot of people are like that. Like Michelle, that's the way she is. She don't want to do any performance mods. She doesn't want her windows tinted. That kind of stuff is just not her thing. And I get that. Everybody's different. But, yeah, the car is sexy. But it still only was like, from the factory, it's still just a turbocharged 4 with a fairly small turbo. So it's only 211 horsepower. So while it looks fast and sleek and sexy, it's kind of not. So with the age of the vehicle and the condition that it was in, I could pick it up and then I could make it fast. And that was the motive, was I can get into this car easily 300 horsepower under 15 grand.
So from 215 or whatever up to 300-ish horsepower?
No, it's 211 from the factory, and hopefully by tomorrow night at this point, it should be about 340.
340. So that's a pretty big jump in horsepower, and
It's about close to it's very close to a stock 5.0 Mustang GT.
but it's going to handle better, hopefully, right? Because those things weren't known for handling.
Right. And it's a different feel, different power.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm going out and going to start seeking down Mustang GTs at red lights all of a sudden. It's a different type of power, 4-cylinder turbo. But yeah, it should handle, because the car's lowered too. So it's already been lowered.
Is it going to be loud and obnoxious?
Loud, yes. Obnoxious, no. It already, and I have it home now. I did go and get it yesterday.
So the reason I say that, we've talked about this on the side, but I was in Charlottesville today at one of my favorite outdoor patio restaurant things, just hanging out there, eating a salad, drinking my sweet tea, and just chilling, looking at my phone, just hanging out. It's one of my favorite places to do that. Did it yesterday, did it today. Both days, and a little group of buddies and their sports cars go flying by on the road right outside of this place. And they were American muscle cars, late models like Dodge Chargers and Challengers and Mustangs and things like that. And the volume that they were putting out from their exhaust, from their whatever they've done to them, right, was thunderous. I mean, so loud you couldn't hear yourself think. Like rattle your windows loud. Like I
don't like that.
I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. And they choose this one little spot because it's enough space between lights that they can really get on it. And I mean, they are getting on it at like pedal to the metal type stuff. I mean, and they're flying down the road. And this is right in the heart of Charlottesville. Seems to me like not a really smart place to do that. But you got all these buildings around. So I'm sure as you're driving, you get the sound of your engine and your exhaust bouncing back at you from all the buildings. And I get that, right? Like you want to do it where it sounds cool, and I get it, but oh my God. So you're not going to be like, your car's not going to sound like that. Well,
it can if I want it to. So that's the thing is, so the tune that you apply. So there's a couple ways that you can make a car loud. So maybe what you're talking about, are you talking about when they're on the throttle or when they're off the throttle?
On the throttle, like full speed. Like I want to get from 0 to 60 or maybe 0 to 100 in as short a time as possible. And I want to do it right here on this city block is what they're doing.
Yeah. So what's often misunderstood is that most people that are not car people that don't know it and know what that's all about think that that's kind of just a show off thing. The louder my car, the more I'm noticed. But that's not the case. Well, I shouldn't say that. It is the case for some people, but that was not the true intent of that sound. It's a byproduct of it. The reason performance exhausts are loud is because the pipes are larger, and the pipes being larger allows air to escape more freely. Think about a ported subwoofer box. So think about a factory. If we're drawing an analogy, and there'll be guests that won't get this, obviously, or listeners, whatever you're calling them these days.
But listeners, our devoted fans.
But think about your factory exhaust as being a sealed enclosure. And then think about the custom exhaust that I just got built for the Audi is more like a ported enclosure. It allows the air to move more freely. And you got really two basic components of making power, and it's fuel and air. And that's why forced induction is a thing. So you have three types of engines, basically. You have naturally aspirated, which is what your F-150 is probably, unless it's an EcoBoost. And your Subaru's probably naturally aspirated. What that means is basically everything it takes through the radiator or the intake, rather, not the radiator.
I thought you were a car guy. I even know that radiator is wrong there, right?
Whatever it takes in through the air intake is what it's going to get, right?
So you're talking about how the air gets into the engine, right?
Exactly.
So the air coming in, there's a hole somewhere that air flows through the grill on my car. It does flow through the radiator there, and then it goes into a hole that takes it in and then pipes it into the engine. And there's nothing that is making that, or there's nothing in there sucking even more air in, right?
Exactly.
Naturally aspirate. It just takes the air it gets, and that's what it gets.
Yep.
Okay.
So then a turbocharger is a forced induction, and basically what it's doing, if I understand them correctly, and there'll probably be mechanics that'll correct me on this, I'm sure, but it uses your exhaust. So you got an exhaust manifold, and it uses the exhaust portion of your stroke to force air back into the intake. So it's pushing extra air into the engine or into the intake and then into the engine so that then you can get more airflow through it and mix more fuel with it.
Wait, how does it use the exhaust? Is it taking air that's been already, it's what's coming out of the exhaust and piping it back into the engine? Is that what you're saying, or no?
As I understand it, yeah, you have on a turbocharger, you have what's called a hot side and a cold side. And I can't get into those details because I'm not educated enough about it. But as I understand it, yeah, that's kind of the way it works. Is it's going to basically suck air out of the exhaust ports, route it through the turbo, push it back through the engine, and then it dumps off through like a diverter valve. It dumps off the exhaust, but you reuses the air to force it into the engine for forced induction. But there's nothing else connected to the engine. It's all just using the air that you're already pulling in. It's just manipulating the air.
Okay. And that's a turbo?
That's a turbo.
Okay.
And the next would be a supercharger. You see those on big engines, V8s, V10s, drag cars.
Is that the thing sticking out of the top of
the hood?
Cut a hole in your hood and the thing sticks up. That thing that sticks up is actively asking the environment for even more air.
Not exactly.
Okay.
It's actually the engine is forcing the supercharger to suck air from the environment because it's hooked up via a belt to the actual engine that's turning. So it doesn't even need to be moving to be sucking air. Where a turbocharger, that's why you have, in a turbocharged car, you have what's called spooling. And basically what that is you have to be moving fast enough to have air flowing before you can manipulate the air.
Okay.
And a supercharger is turning with the engine. So when you rev the engine, even if you're sitting still and there's no air coming into the car via movement, then it's sucking air out of the environment because of a mechanical connection to the crank. And that's why it's used on drag cars, because they want it right off the bat.
Because the more air you can get into the engine, the more fuel you can burn, and which creates more power.
You got it. Yep. Fuel air ratio. That's it. It's just a mixture.
So so what you did to the Audi was, I know you did the redid the exhaust. Did you add a turbo, or did it already have a turbo?
So it came factory equipped with the turbo. It's a 2.0 T, so it's 2.0 liter 4-cylinder engine, turbocharged. I got a larger turbo, which is going to suck more air in, and then I replaced the factory air intake with a cold air intake, which bolts directly to the turbo with no air box, so there's no chance of losing any air in the air box there. Straight piped into the turbo. And then 3-inch exhaust, upgraded from 2 1/4 from the factory. So now it's 3-inch exhaust from the turbo all the way back. So in my car, the catalytic converter's gone. The first muffler or resonator is gone, and only one muffler at the back. So it's opened up full 3-inch pipe, eliminated the restrictions of the catalytic converter, eliminated the restrictions of the resonator. The only restrictions is muffler right before it exits the back of the car, so it opens up the airflow to be as free as it can be.
And you just had all this work done. Like, it's the physical work is completed.
Yep.
And all you need to do now is hook up a computer to it and tune it. Is that still that's the next step?
Yep. And you can do that several different ways. I went with kind of what we call a cookie cutter internet tune.
Well, before you get to that, you drove it today, I assume? You've driven it since you got it from the shop?
I did, but the car went into limp mode.
I was going to say, what was the difference with just doing everything you did without touching it with the computer yet?
Frankly, the car was confused, like it didn't know what the hell was going on. I had check engine light within 10 minutes. I had a throttle position sensor light within the first mile. It wouldn't rev above 4,000 RPMs because it was in limp mode. But as long as I kept it under 4,000 RPMs, the place I got the exhaust built was it, Michelle, 60 miles? Give or take? Yeah, 50, 60 miles. So I was able to get it back 50, 60 miles, kept it under 4,000 RPM. So it was in, limp mode. That's what limp mode is for, is to protect the engine. So yeah, it was like even the fuel mileage. Like 1 minute it'd say that I had 155 miles left on the tank. And then all of a sudden I'd look down again and it'd say 135. And then it'd say 150. And then it'd go back to 135. And then it'd go back to 155. So it's like the ECU could not figure out the fuel air mixture. And that's why I started throwing codes and doing some stuff. But I hooked up a scanner to it today and cleared out all the codes on it. And I've got it hooked up to a battery charger right now. And because you can't let the battery drop below 10 volts. And the guy that did the exhaust build on it had it for 7 weeks, basically. And the battery had died, and so it's a little weak. But you can't do the flash without the battery being full charge, because if the battery dies during the flash, then my ECU is basically bricked, and then the car won't work.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, so it's on a battery charger. So I'll do the flash hopefully tomorrow. And I had a little bit of a snafu with the company and they didn't apply the right amount of credits for the tune. So I've got an email in with them. They got to send me, I guess, some credits to get the tune that I actually paid for. But
so the next step is you're just basically downloading a file to a computer and then connecting the computer to what, the OBD port?
Yeah, I would normally have to do that, but they just released a wireless thing, kind of like the Maestro RR2. It's the same scenario.
So you can wirelessly from your phone just put the file that they sent you into the ECU, and then the car won't be confused anymore?
Yep, sort of. You plug a dongle into the OBD2 port, and then your phone, they've got an app, and you install the app, and then it connects to the dongle via the app, and then it uploads the files through the OBD2 port to the factory ECU.
It's like updating the firmware on my car stereo.
Yeah, it's called a flash.
Yeah.
That's what it's a firmware flash, basically. And it's basically, they upload files, and they've tested these files on dynos and things like that. But, it's like, that's why I said there's a few ways you can do it, because a true dyno tune would get better results. But then you're trying to squeeze every little ounce out of a car that you can get. And then you're getting kind of on the border of breaking the car.
Yeah.
So if I get 340, 345 out of it with my upgrades and the tune for the money I've spent, I'll be tickled. I won't need a dyno tune.
So next time we have you on the show, we'll find out just how much you're enjoying the end result of this. We don't know yet. Jury's out.
Jury's out. Yes.
Well, then I think we should switch from cars to guitars. Thing number 2.
You got it.
So, you wanted to talk about cars and guitars and dogs. So how did what's going on with guitar? You've started playing again recently. You've been playing. You played all your life. What's your relationship with guitars?
Oh Lord, I wish I played all my life. No, my family was we had a long line of musicians on my dad's side, all the way up into my dad, and then it got lost there. He couldn't hold a tune in a bucket, and he couldn't stomp his foot to, I don't know, insert whatever funny analogy you can come up with there, because he had nothing when it came to music. So I didn't either. I didn't get it. But I don't know. As I got older, it was something that, with my job, and as much as I enjoyed it, and I love acoustic music, and that's kind of where you and I differ a lot in music. So I'm kind of curious where this is going to lead us, actually. But, I just wanted to pick it up. It was just one of those things that I kept saying, I want to pick up guitar. I want to pick up guitar. I'd really love to play guitar. I'd like to learn to play guitar. And my stepson learned and was pretty much self-taught, and he's pretty badass. He was playing in public when he was, I want to say 13.
I didn't know that. Is he a musician? Does he still do it?
Nope. He didn't stick with it. If he had have, I think he could have been really, really good at it. But no, he kind of just faded away from it. But when I'd listen to him play, and just, I was thinking, well, if Christopher can learn it, then I think I could probably learn it too, and he might help me. It could be something we connected with. But I procrastinated it and put it off and put it off and put it off until I think he had pretty much went off to college by the time I started, or close to it, maybe. But one year, Michelle and the kids got me kind of a group gift card for some guitar lessons for like 6 months with a guy here locally. His name's Chris Rose, and he is truly a phenom. He's older than I am, older than you are a little bit, but there used to be a thing around here. I think they called it Guitar Wars, and he won it several years in a row and got to play live on stage with Eddie Van Halen.
Whoa.
That was, it was like top prize. So, I mean, he actually teaches at 2 colleges around here. He's a music teacher and teaches guitar. But so I took maybe 6 months, I guess those 6 months worth of lessons with him, and just kind of wanted to be a campfire guitarist is all I wanted to do. I told him that from the start. I was like, I'm not looking to join any bands. I don't want to do any lead guitar. I don't need to get into musical theory. I want to learn basically just your basic chords and be able to make some music. I know I'm starting late in life, and that's kind of how it came to be, was just wanting to pick up a hobby.
And how long ago was that?
That was, so I want to say that happened when I was about 37. So I'm going to say 10 years ago.
Okay.
But
And have you been playing ever since?
no. So I went at it like fighting fire for about, I guess, 2 years, maybe 2.5, and then kind of hit a plateau. And as a musician, you know that's a real thing. For a lot of people, not everybody, but for a lot of people, you hit a plateau and you can't push through it and you get bored with it. So, no, I put it down for a good while, and I would pick it up every now and then. But just recently, I've kind of wanted to pick it back up again, and I have. And it was weird because when I picked it back up, I thought part of the reason I hadn't picked it back up is I thought I'm going to lose everything, and I'm going to be so frustrated, because that's why I stopped, because I got frustrated.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to pick it back up and begin frustrated. But it was the damnedest thing, man. I picked it back up, and it just kind of started coming back to me, and my fingers started working even better than they did when I stopped. And so, yeah, if I play a song here, that'll tell you how bad I used to be.
Do you play enough where you have got like calluses on your fingers and stuff?
Oh, yeah, I have to pick them off with my teeth just about every day.
I think you should leave them on there, right? Don't they help?
Well, they get caught on stuff, though. I mean, they help, but they shed. It really is like it sheds skin. It's like it dies and it comes off. So if you don't pick it off, then it gets hung up on the clothing, and I don't know.
Now,
But I'm OCD. Most people probably know. They probably leave it right there. But if I feel a little something on my finger, now I'm gonna bite that shit off, and you know it.
have you played out in front of people yet?
You mean like here, like in my living room in front of my wife? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I said
Yeah.
people, not person.
Wife, daughter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you gone out to a bar and played a gig yet?
No, absolutely not. No, I have not.
Have you gone camping and led the campfire songs?
I wouldn't say led the campfire songs, but when we do the little post-training bonfire here, I have played in front of people for the last 2 training classes, I believe. Maybe 3. I don't know.
Well, that counts, right? You have an audience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting over that phobia. So it's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still bad. It's like most of the stuff that I play, if nobody were around, I could probably play it twice as good. But I just get in my head and freeze up. But it's something you got to overcome.
So that's the beauty of this, right? It's just you and me, and I think Michelle's there in the background, right? So don't worry about all the 20 or 30 people that might listen to this podcast.
So we got a campfire around us tonight, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
I want to hear a song, man. And I think you're ready to play a song. You look ready. I heard.
If you want me to just play it, I can play. But if I play and sing, that's when it gets dicey.
Oh, that's what I want to hear. Play and sing. That's what you got to do at a campfire, right? You can't just play.
I figured that's where you were going.
Yeah.
So this is like I know you know the songs. So it's Bruce Springsteen, which I don't like very much.
So did you just say you don't like Bruce Springsteen? Isn't that kind of un-American to not like Bruce Springsteen?
Depends on who you talk to. But his music never really struck me to be all that great. I don't know what it was about it. It was just kind of cookie cutter, and there was a whole era of music there for me that was like that. It just didn't stick, didn't land.
Huh.
But this song I like, and I heard a cover from AWOL Nation. They did it. And
AWOL Nation's the guys that do sail.
Yeah, sail.
Sail.
When we talk about sail panels in training, and I always
sail.
sail panel. Yeah.
I did not know they did a cover of this
AWOL Nation's
song.
got a pretty cool version of it, and I'm on fire, but I never could really get the rhythm of their song. They played it a little faster than I'm comfortable playing, and I like finger picking, so I do this little rhythm. Can you hear it?
Yep.
So it's kind of a little 3-finger rhythm. Sometimes I just do a kind of a alternate 2-finger rhythm, and I'm just basically hitting like the root bass note of the chord, and then picking out strings and the high strings, and I'll add in a little flavor. And I just sat down one night and kind of started playing it. And this is kind of where I ended up. Hey little girl, is your daddy home? Or did he go and leave you all alone? And I got a bad desire. Oh, I'm on fire. And tell me now, girl, is he good to you? Can he do to you the things I do? And I can take you higher. Oh, I'm on fire. Sometimes it's like someone took a knife, baby, edgy and dull, and they cut a 6-inch valley through the middle of my skull. And at night I wake up with the sheets soaking wet and a freight train running through the middle of my head, and you cool my desire. Oh, I'm on fire.
I kept waiting for that part. You're not doing that part of the song.
Nah. So I got a little rough in the middle there, as it does either in the beginning, the middle, or the end of any complete song I try to play. But you kind of get the gist of what I'm trying to go for there. It's kind of a little bit of a hillbilly version / fingerpick variation, and that's kind of the way I like to play. I love doing covers. I got a few things I do original, but for the most part, I just play and sing other people's stuff and try to put my own spin on it. And
Wait, so you've written songs?
I have some melodies and some chord progressions, and I have some mixed lyrics, but I haven't really put anything together like completely start to finish yet, because I don't know, I guess this is one of those things that comes with experience that I just simply don't have, is the bridge. The bridge of most songs, like I've got like verses and choruses to probably 4 or 5 songs original, but I can't really come up with bridges for them. And I know there are songs that don't have bridges. You don't have to have a bridge, but
they do make songs more interesting though when they have a bridge. It's definitely,
they do.
Yeah. You said it got a little rocky in the middle there. Now, again, as a drummer, surrounded by guitar players when I play with the band, I don't notice when they mess up, unless it's egregious, right? And if it's obvious, sure. But they miss a note, they miss a pluck, they miss a thing here and there. It is I don't have the ear for that. I can't pick up on it. I do love the sound of guitar, but I'm not like hyper tuned into guitarists. Like I'm not that. It's just not me. There are a few exceptions to that. There's a couple artists out there that I actually thoroughly enjoy watching and listening to them, even though it's just them and a guitar, right? Typically, if a song is an instrumental, I'm not as into it. I want stuff to sing along with. And if a song has no drums, I'm typically not into that too much. Because as a drummer, I want to hear that. Like that's a part of music for me. But there's a few exceptions. Are you familiar with Rodrigo y Gabriela?
Doesn't ring a bell.
So it's a duo. They're from somewhere in Latin America or South America. I'm not sure where. They speak Spanish. They don't sing for the most part in their songs. It's a duo. They both have acoustic guitars, and it's like to watch them and listen to them. It's otherworldly. It's like I can't even explain how they make these guitars make these sounds. Like they're also using them for percussion, right? Like Gabriella especially, it's a guy and a girl, and Gabriella is always like banging on the guitar, hitting it and within rhythm, and the things that they do with these guitars is just mind-bendingly good. And there's another guy I just started following him on YouTube. I've been seeing him come up on my TikTok all the time, and this is the kind of guitar work that I enjoy watching. And so I'm sharing my computer screen with you so I can show you or give you an idea of what this type of guitar work is. This guy's name is Marcin Petrazelek, I think. And he's got a shit ton of videos on YouTube. But this is him playing Metallica's Master of Puppets. I'll just play a few seconds of it. And I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the show notes here so people can go check him out. But this kid's incredible. He's been on America's Got Talent. This is an entire 7-minute cover of Metallica's Master of Puppets with one dude and his guitar. That's what you're listening to. And he's got hundreds of videos out there. And this is the only kind of guitar that I look at that and I'm mesmerized. I could watch and listen to that all day long.
Dude, okay, so since you showed that, I got to show you one. Can't help it, and you got to do it. Okay.
And while you're pulling that up, before you take it from me, let me show you Rodrigo y Gabriela real quick.
No, I'm just going to send it to you, and you can play it.
Okay. I'll play this. This is Rodrigo y Gabriela. This is just two people, one on electric, one on acoustic.
You're gonna love this next one.
All right, so that's Rodrigo y Gabriela. Let me open up.
That's good stuff. That is really good stuff.
Oh man, it's so good. All right, what did you send me here? Slow dancing in a burning room. Let me just set
this up just a little bit for you. So Tommy Emmanuel, he's widely known as being one of the best acoustic guitarists on planet Earth. I think he's Australian, and he does a lot of that percussive stuff on his guitar, on the box itself.
Yeah.
So when you watch him play, and when you saw these guys, it's unfortunate that this isn't a video podcast so they could see the video of it. But if you post them, they'll be able to. But
links in the show notes, people.
Yeah. So Tommy Emmanuel in this video, he's going to be the older fella, and then Mike Dawes is a guy he plays with, and they've done several shows together. And Dawes plays a similar style, plays a lot of percussive. You watch him come up and do what's called, I want to say it's called hammer style guitar. So instead of like strumming or plucking a string, he hammers it. So he just kind of pops it with his fingertip, and you'll watch him work his hands up so he'll still hold maybe a chord shape, but he'll come up the scale of the guitar or up the neck of the guitar and kind of smack on it and then go back to the box. So he's got like kind of a drum rhythm on the box and a drum rhythm on the strings, while the other guy's playing a lot of other stuff. This is good stuff.
Here we go.
see him come up the neck and tap on it there, and then come back to the box and tap it.
Yeah.
You can hear that in the background.
Yeah, I think what I like about it is that they're doing things with these instruments that they weren't originally designed to do, right? Like this is not a percussion instrument at all, but when you can get those extra sounds out of the guitar, I love it. It's why I like Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine is known for getting sounds out of guitars that just nobody else can do. It takes something special like that on guitar for me to get super excited about it. But I will say this. I took guitar lessons when I was like 7, lasted maybe 3 lessons, decided it wasn't for me. So I didn't last anywhere near what you did. To this day, I wish I had even just what you described, the ability to play songs at a campfire. As a drummer, that's challenging, right? To be able to to do anything at a campfire. It's why I have a cajon that I can play and maybe add something to some, but somebody else has to carry the song. So good on you, man. I'm glad you did that.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I mean, if you ever wanted to get into guitar, a lot of it has to do with the style of music and stuff, of course, that you want to play. But, so if I want to go in and start playing Metallica lead, yeah, you got a long road ahead of you.
Yeah.
But, if you're familiar with what's called the cowboy chords, if you can play G, C, D, and E minor, those 4 chords, and transition back and forth fairly smoothly, you can play no less than 350, 400 songs.
I'm familiar with that concept. I played drums in a country music band for a while, so G, C, and D. I've heard that before. I don't know how to do it, but I know that that's a thing.
With a capo, you can do the same. You can move it up and down, and you can create different chords with the capo. So it's, that's. So just for the record, I did not share that song to impress anyone, including you. I just played it and sang it. So however it turns out, it turns out.
That's fine. And, you're doing 1,000 times more than I can do on a guitar. I might be able to remember how to tune a guitar. That's it. That's where it stops for me.
How about a fish?
A musical, like a fish with the thing, with the little stick and the little ribs on it. And you make like a washboard sound. Are you talking about a music fish like that?
No, I'm asking if you can tune a fish.
Tune a, oh God. All right, and on that note, it's time to talk dogs. Thing number 3. I'm surrounded by dogs who are mad at me because I haven't fed them yet. I have 2 dogs, and were we texting about dogs or were we talking about dogs? Because what was it, 6 months, a year ago that you were thinking, hey, I'm going to get this dog. What do you think? And I told you, man, it's going to rule your life. Are you ready for your life to be ruled by a dog? Because it affects everything you do. I have one dog I think is mine, and the other dog that's in my house is Kiki's dog, right? So she has Rocket, and I have Scherzer. Everywhere I go, I have to bring Scherzer with me because he's got separation anxiety, and so I have no time without Scherzer unless I'm going to stick him in this cage right here, which he does not like at all. So for me, the experience of having a dog, while wonderful, I do love Scherzer. I like him. I do look forward to the day when I no longer have a dog, because I will be able to ride my motorcycle a lot more often and do anything I want without having to worry about the dog. And so you got a dog recently. And I warned you, and you got one anyway. How has it affected your life? Tell me about Coco.
Man, that's a good setup. It's a good lead in.
That's why I do the pod. That's why I'm the host of the show.
Because all of those thoughts entered my mind, and we had kind of decided after we lost our last dog, Leo. The story about him. Unfortunately, we had kind of just decided that what, it's just not worth it. It's hard. It's like the best way to explain a dog is it's just heartbreak waiting to happen.
Yep.
So, and that came true, and it's came true with every dog we've had. But there's something about them, there's just something about a domesticated dog that if you treat them right and you train them and you show them attention and you make them obedient and you make a good dog, they can bring a lot of joy to your life, and you can bring a lot of joy to their life. And I've had that ingrained in my mind since I was old enough to remember anything. I mean, one of my youngest memories was an Alaska Malamute that we had when I was still probably in diapers. I had to be. Based on the timeline, I had to be. But I can remember this Alaska Malamute. His name was Aesop, and he was just, I don't know, he was like mine and my sister's protector. I mean, he didn't let anybody mess with us. And, they just, you see that bond at an early age, and it never leaves you, So, I don't know, I came down to the decision of, you know what? Yeah, this is going to be a newborn baby for a little while in my life, or maybe a long while in my life, because, they never grow up. They never start fending for themselves. But
Right.
I don't know. It's just, I'm a sentimental guy, and I love hound dogs. You know that. I've talked to you about it. That's been the predominant breed in my family since I was a kid. After the Malamute, the next dog was a Basset / Beagle mix.
And what exactly is Coco?
Coco is, she's a blood Basset, so half bloodhound, half Basset hound.
And so is she like short legs, long and kind of thick?
That's almost perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. She's a little longer legged than, like, if you were watching like Westminster or something, those Bassets are really low slung. So her legs are a little taller than that, but she's very long. She's over 5 feet long.
When you sent me the first picture of Coco when she was a puppy, when you first got her, my immediate thought was she was going to grow up to basically look like Flash, the dog that Roscoe drives around with from the Dukes of Hazzard, right?
Yeah.
Go get him, Flash. Is that how she's turning out to look? Is she full grown yet?
No, but I don't think she's going to get a whole lot bigger, So she was born August. I got her October. So she's coming up on a year now. And typically, I think dogs will still grow into year 2, like 18 months up to 2 years. But she had 2 kind of really fast spurts. And she's kind of slowed down a lot. So I don't know. This is the first of that breed that I've had with any bloodhound in it. So I really have no idea what to expect. But yeah, if I could describe her, she's really long and really lean. But she's got a really deep, thick chest cavity, big rib cage, and she's really stocky through the shoulders and like bullyish strong. Low center of gravity. She's just low slung but long. When she wags her tail, she kind of reminds you of an eel. That's how long her body is. So I don't know. She's a unique little breed.
And can you leave her at home without worrying about her or your stuff? Is she okay to be at home alone?
I can for a little while. I do typically now. I've got to where, so that like this last couple of weeks since I've been working from home, if I go out for lunch, I'll leave her out in the house by herself for lunchtime. But if we're going to be gone, like when we went and picked up my car and was gone for 3 or 4 hours, no, we'll crate her for that. So she's crated, and she crates all night, sleeps all night, and crates usually probably 3 to 4 hours during daylight hours,
and
roughly.
You bring her to work with you when you're in the office?
I was, yeah, until my car got put in a shop, and then I got the Bronco. That's a different story.
She's not allowed in the Bronco yet?
Not quite yet. Nope.
I don't let, we have two dogs. One's black, one's white. The white dog is not allowed in my car because there will be white hair on everything. Rocket can ride in my truck because I don't care about the truck as much anymore, but not getting in the car.
It's mainly the fabric. I did take her in it one day, but I don't know what it is about that fabric, but she rode in it one day and it looked like she'd been in there for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta figure something out here. So, and I'm going to, but I've got one of those hammock style she gets the full back seat in the Audi, and it's low, and she's low. So I fold a flap down. It's like it extends out of the vehicle, like when you open the door, you just reach in.
Like a handicap ramp.
Yeah, exactly. So I sling that down, and she just jumps right up in, and she's fine. The Bronco, there's no way that I could get her in it without having to pick her up because it's lifted and it's got 35-inch tires on it. I mean, I almost have to have a ramp for Michelle. So Coco's not getting in that one without help.
So it's been almost a year. Are you regretting getting the dog, or are you glad you got the dog?
Both. 100% both, if that's possible.
Yeah.
There's times when I'm like, oh, God almighty, why, God? And I knew that going in, I would never have discussed it with you. I discussed it with Paul Warner. Of course, me and Michelle discussed it like crazy. And, eventually I just went, just full sin, man. But yeah, there's times when it's extremely inconvenient. And I think that's why a lot of dogs get mistreated and, don't get the kind of homes that they need to be in, because it's like, oh yeah, puppy, hey, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be great. And then when you're having to potty train them and clean up after them and get them obedience trained and work with them and get them crate trained and keep them from chewing up power wires and all that stuff, that's when the work comes in. And if you're not willing to put that in, man, don't do it. So I had to soul search about it, but in the end, I'm happy I made the decision. She's made a big difference in, like, just kind of getting me up off my ass sometimes, honestly.
Yeah.
And I need that. It's good for me. And, we're empty nesters now. And I think Michelle would agree with me that both of us are sort of nurturing type spirits. So it fits, but there are times, yeah, she's got little cotton balls floating around up there in that noggin of hers, and is about as dumb as a football bat. But, other times she's as sweet as can be, and I don't regret it for a second. So it's a two-way street.
When we got Scherzer, it was Kiki and me, and we went and adopted Scherzer. And what I thought was happening at that time was that we were, it had been a year or so since Kiki's dog that she had even before she met me, a Jack Russell, had passed away of old age. And so we went a year or so without any dogs. But I knew that a new dog was in the future because she's very into animals and dogs and such. So I knew we were getting another dog, and she found this one. We went and saw it, and we loved it, and we got it and brought it home. And that's Scherzer, which I thought was going to be primarily a dog that hung out with Kiki. And then one day, the first week we had Scherzer, she's like, hey, you should take Scherzer to work with you today. See if that works out, since, we have a dog-friendly workplace. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll try that. And so that's been happening ever since, since we got him 6 or 7 years ago. And no, what happened was that Kiki got another Jack Russell about a month later. So I didn't realize at the time that I was getting a dog and then she was going to get her own dog. And I literally would, if I to go back in time, if I had known then what I know now, we wouldn't have got Scherzer. I was not looking to have a dog that is attached to me every day, all day. But I do love it when he comes over to me and he puts his paws up on my leg and he looks at me like, would you please pet me? And it's all I want to do at that point. So I do love the dog. Like I said at the beginning, I can't wait to not have a dog to worry about, which, I thought that was going to happen a year ago when he got attacked by a pit bull. Watching that happen was horrific. And I thought he was a goner because that pit bull had him by what I thought was the neck. But it turned out the dog had him more by the shoulder and didn't puncture anything important. So it was just some lacerations and stuff that had to heal up. And but I thought my dog was done. And
he was down and out for a while, though, for that, wasn't he?
Yeah, dude, he had to wear the cone for a good long time. He was limping on that leg a bunch. It got infected as it was healing. Like, it was a whole process getting him back.
Yeah.
But he's pretty much back, although he's a little bit grumpier today than he was back then before that. A little less tolerance of other dogs and now other people. But he is 100% my dog. I'm his human, he's my dog, and he reminds me of that constantly. So yeah.
Is he mostly crate trained?
No.
Do you regret that?
Yes, we should have been putting him in the crate from day one. But we the only time we ever did it, we knew he didn't like thunderstorms, so we would put him in a crate then, because if we didn't, he would be up in the bed pawing our face while we're trying to sleep while there's a storm going on. So we would do that, and he didn't like that, making noise, trying to get out, chewing the bars and everything. But we only ever use the crate when we have to, because he cannot be trusted in the house alone. He will do everything in his power to escape, including breaking and jumping out of windows, even second-story windows, screens, doors, anything like that. He will do whatever he can to destroy whatever is in his path. He thinks he can run outside and wait for me in the driveway. When he does get outside, he doesn't disappear looking for me. He stays right there at the house. He just wants to be outside. So as soon as I get home, he knows it. That's it. We've come home before and he has escaped, and he's just sitting there in the driveway, just like, hey, glad to see you guys. Guarding the house for you. Don't worry, nothing happened other than me breaking your windows. But other than that, nothing happened. It's crazy, but yeah.
It's funny because growing up, like, crate training, I didn't even know was a concept.
Right.
And then, once we crate trained Leo, and he did so well with it, we insisted that when we got her, we were going to crate train her, and she has separation anxiety, but I feel like that if we hadn't have done the crate training, she would have severe separation anxiety.
Yeah.
But it's helped her to get used to being alone and knowing that she's okay. And she eats every meal in her crate, and she does not hesitate. She will open the door, run in there, turn around, lay down, and wait for you to give it to her. But some dogs are food motivated, some aren't. But she luckily is, being a hound dog.
When I put Scherzer in the crate, like if I have to go out for a few hours without him, he will not eat or drink anything in the cage. And if there's anything in the cage that he can tear up, he will. I've tried putting blankets and dog beds and anything in there. Finally, the only thing that's working now is Kiki has these mats, these thick rubber mats that go on the floor of a horse stall, right? Like you might use like 6 of them to fill the entire floor of a stall where a horse would be. So we took one and cut it down to the size of this crate. And so far he has been unable to like paw that up and chew that up. But anything else, any other rubber mat that's, weaker, thinner than that, it ends up in 1,000 pieces underneath the crate, and it's horrible. So this so far is working, but when he gets in the crate, no food, no drink. Even if I put it in there, it'll end up in a spilled, and it'll be a mess. Yeah.
Yeah, down here in Southwest, we call that mining belt.
Mining belt?
Mm-hmm.
What? I don't understand. What's the reference?
I knew you wouldn't.
We don't have that in Northern Virginia where I grew up. There's no mining happening up there that I know of.
Mining belt down here in Southwest Virginia is and pretty much always has been like a tiny little piece of currency in the area. It's like when you need something like that, it's like, well, call on Charlie over there. He works Paramount, and he gets you about 12 feet of mining belt. Take care of that, no problem. You don't have to pay a dime. And
I still don't understand.
I know you don't. You need like a outdoor patio area covered, and you're on the cheap. Get old Billy Bob, get you a few yards of that mining belt down there at the mines. He'll bring it home to you. You cover that up. He'll kill your grass. You got something good to walk on. It's good.
So mining belt in the cage instead of the rubber mat. Is this a real thing?
It is absolutely a real thing. So mining belt, when you come to Southwest every year, or not every year, but every time you come to Southwest, you go under the, what we call, quote unquote, the blue tube.
Yes, I know the blue tube. Yeah.
Yep.
That's how I know I'm almost there.
That's right. Yeah. The blue tube. It's a reference for everybody. So it's just basically a big long conveyor belt, just like the distribution center has a conveyor.
Yeah.
It's a coal conveyor.
Oh, okay.
So it's the really thick rubber mat, but it's steel reinforced, kind of like a tire.
Like a tire, okay.
So it's like steel belted rubber that is tough as nails. It lasts like virtually forever, and everybody wants it for something. You can use it for, you can find a use for mining belt for about anything, or so everybody around here has always thought. So when you had a project, is like, who could I get mining belt from?
Got it.
So Southwest Virginiaism.
Hey, I learned something new on this podcast.
Yeah. What y'all learned something about squeezing blood from a turnip the other day too? Evidently,
I've heard. I knew that. I knew that one. What? Was that at work?
Yeah. Some of the other ones were like, "What? Huh? You do what?"
I must have not been in the room when that happened, because I've heard that phrase since I was a kid. One of our bosses at work used a phrase in a team leader meeting years ago, and most of us were like, "What did you just say?" And he said, "You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater," and he just kept on talking as if we all would know what this phrase was. This was not a phrase any of the team leaders had ever heard before. Once he explained it, we understood what he meant with it, but that was a new one on us, throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, and as I understand it, and I'm going total ad lib here, just based on my knowledge of that phrase, I believe that it meant that the baby was the last one to take a bath, or the first one. I get it mixed up, but it was like a hierarchy of who took a bath first and last.
No, I don't think that's what that phrase means at all.
Is that not what it means?
No, like the bathwater is the stuff you don't need anymore once you're done with it, right? So in the olden days, back before you had running water, if you were going to take a bath, you would put water in a bathtub for a baby. Even today, if you're going to give a newborn a bath, you don't do it in the bathtub, right? You get a little baby bathtub and you put it on the counter and you fill it with water. And when you're done bathing the baby, you take that and you throw the water out because it's used, it's done, it's dirty, right? You don't need it anymore. So the things that are important, though, need to not be thrown out. So you need to take the baby out of the tub before you throw the water out. Otherwise, you might throw the baby out with the bathwater. And you can use that as an analogy. Like, we need to get rid of the stuff we don't need anymore, but let's make sure we hold on to what's important.
So keep the bathwater throughout the baby.
Said like a true empty nester right there.
No, but there is. So I got the phrase messed up there, but there is something about some kind of old timey hierarchy of who took the bath first, second, last.
That makes sense. There's probably some sort of phrase right back then when everybody had to use the same bathwater because there was limited water, and it was just a tub with like not with a drain and a spigot, but just you filled it and everybody used it, right?
Got bathwater, yeah.
Yeah. Is that where the term sloppy seconds come from?
Associated with that, but I can't remember what it was. But that one just kind of came to mind.
That's not where the term sloppy seconds comes from, is it?
I would hope not.
This seems like a great note to end this on, my friend. Thank you for doing this. Thanks for playing me a song.
Hey, man. I'll serenade you anytime you want, big boy.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Hey, I'll see you at work tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Cool. Check you later, Chris.
Later, buddy.
See ya.
Hey, little girl, is your daddy home? Did he go and leave you all alone? I got a bad desire. Tell me now, baby, is it good to you? Can you do the things that I can? I can take you high. I can take you high. Sometimes it's like someone took a knife, baby, edgy and dull, and cut a 6-inch valley through the middle of my soul. At night I wake up with the sheets soaking wet and a freight train running through the middle of my head. Only you